The slap landed so hard my earring flew off and hit the side of my mother's china cabinet with a tiny sharp click. That was the sound I remember most. Not her hand. Not my own breath catching in my throat. That little metal click. The whole dining room froze. The smell of sage stuffing and roasted turkey suddenly felt sickening. Someone's fork slipped against a plate. My 7-year-old daughter Lucy, who had been sitting beside me coloring the paper placemat with a brown crayon, looked up so fast her chair legs scraped the hardwood floor. "Mommy?" Her voice was so small. My cheek burned. My eyes watered instantly, not from weakness, but from shock. I tasted salt. My mother Diane stood over me with her chest rising and falling, her pearls shaking against her sweater, her face red with rage. "You ungrateful girl," she snapped. "You come into my house on Thanksgiving and ask about money again. Worthless. Just worthless." Across the table, my older sister Vanessa did not move. She did not gasp. She did not tell our mother to stop. She just sat there with one hand wrapped around her wineglass and that familiar smug smile pulling at the corner of her mouth, as if this scene had been waiting for her all day. Lucy reached for my sleeve with trembling fingers. Then my mother said the thing that made the room go colder than the wind outside. "This family's money doesn't belong to you." I stared at her. Really stared. At the woman who had spent my whole life teaching me how little space I was allowed to take up. At the woman who praised Vanessa for breathing and punished me for blinking at the wrong time. Behind her, the grandfather clock in the hallway gave a long low chime. 5 o'clock. And I remember thinking, good. Right on time. My name is Claire Bennett. I am 35 years old. I never thought my own family would humiliate me in front of my child and fight so hard to steal what was never theirs to begin with. I have always been the daughter who apologized first, worked twice as hard, and still ended up blamed for the storm. Vanessa was 2 years older than me, prettier according to my mother, louder according to everyone else, and somehow always innocent no matter what she did. If Vanessa broke something, I had distracted her. If Vanessa lied, I had misunderstood. If Vanessa took what was mine, my mother would tell me a good sister shares. That was the shape of my childhood. Vanessa got piano lessons. I got told not to complain about the noise. Vanessa got a car for her 17th birthday. I got my mother's old station wagon after the air conditioner had died and one door only opened from the outside. Vanessa got praised for a community college certificate she never finished using. I earned a master's degree in speech therapy and my mother said, "That is nice, Claire, but your sister has better people skills." By the time I was old enough to understand the pattern, it had already soaked into me. I became the easy one, the quiet one, the daughter who would swallow her to keep peace alive for one more holiday. Then I married Evan. He was gentle. He was funny. He made pancakes in ridiculous shapes for Lucy when she was little. He told me I was not too sensitive. I was simply surrounded by people who benefited from me doubting myself. For 12 years, he was the one person who could squeeze my hand under a table and remind me I was not crazy. Then 2 years ago, he died from a sudden brain aneurysm on a Tuesday morning before I could even get to the hospital. One phone call. One white hallway. One doctor with tired eyes. And just like that, I was a widow at 33 with a 5-year-old who kept asking when daddy was coming home. That was when my family changed from casually cruel to openly predatory. They did not bring casseroles. They brought opinions. My mother told me I should sell our house before I messed up the finances. Vanessa offered to help manage Lucy's life insurance payout from Evan's job. Her husband worked in commercial lending, and suddenly she had all these ideas about accounts and investments and temporary transfers and what was safest. When I said no, she laughed and told my mother I was emotional and irresponsible. The only person who did not treat me like a burden was my grandfather Walter. He was my mother's father, quiet, proud, sharp even at 81. He lived alone in the old cedar-sided farmhouse outside Blowing Rock, with the wraparound porch and the blue hydrangeas Lucy loved to count every summer. After Evan died, Grandpa Walter started calling every Sunday evening. At first it was to check on Lucy, then to check on me. Then, slowly, I became the one driving him to appointments, helping with groceries, organizing his medication, and sitting with him on the porch while the mountain fog rolled in. Vanessa visited twice in 18 months. My mother came when church friends were around, but I was the one there when his arthritis flared and he could not button his own shirt. I was the one who listened when he whispered that money made people ugly. I was the one who found the heating bill tucked inside a cookbook because he had forgotten where he put it. And Lucy, sweet Lucy, became the light of his last years. She read to him. She drew him crooked rainbows. She called him Captain Walter because he wore an old Navy sweater and liked telling her stories about lakes and storms and fishing lines that snapped at dawn. About 6 months before he passed, he looked at me over a mug of chamomile tea and said, "Some people think love is what they say in public. I think it is who shows up when nobody is watching." I did not know then how much that sentence would matter. When Grandpa Walter died, my mother cried louder than anyone at the funeral. Vanessa wore black silk and held tissues to dry eyes that somehow never got wet. They accepted casseroles. They accepted sympathy. And almost immediately, they started circling his estate like vultures over an open field. At first, I stayed out of it. I was grieving. Lucy was grieving. I had my own work at the elementary school and enough bills to keep me awake at night. But little things started to bother me. My mother suddenly changed the locks on Grandpa's study. Vanessa kept mentioning paperwork in vague ways, then stopping when I entered the room. Once, while Lucy and I were leaving the farmhouse after sorting old photo albums, I heard my mother hiss to Vanessa in the kitchen, "Keep her away from the files until this is done." When I stepped back in, both of them smiled too quickly. That was the first cold pinch in my stomach. Then came the phone call from Vanessa. It was a week before Thanksgiving. She said the estate lawyer wanted everyone together at my mother's house on Thanksgiving evening because a few final matters had to be read aloud. She sounded almost bored. Then she added, too casually, "Do not get your hopes up, Claire. Grandpa already took care of you enough with all that attention. This is really family money." Family money. That phrase stayed with me. 3 nights later, Lucy and I were at the farmhouse packing a few recipe cards and framed photos my grandfather had promised I could have. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the rain tapping the kitchen windows. Lucy wandered into Grandpa's study, which had finally been unlocked because the movers were coming the next week. A few minutes later she called out, "Mommy, I found the pie computer." I almost laughed through my sadness. She meant Grandpa's old silver laptop. He used it mostly for weather, baseball, and printing recipes. When I opened it, I expected a dead screen. Instead it came to life with a soft chime. No password. Lucy had already clicked into his email because she recognized the little pumpkin icon he used every fall. There, in plain sight, was a folder called Auto Backup. Inside it were scanned documents, voice memos, and one file with a date from 2 months before his death. I still remember the shaking in my hands as I opened the first recording. It was my mother's voice. Sharp, impatient. "Just sign the transfer, Dad. Claire does not need to know every detail." Then Vanessa's voice, lower and colder than I had ever heard it. "You were never really one of us anyway, Claire. You always hovered around him because you knew he was soft on you." I froze. My own name. My own sister. The recording continued. Papers rustled. A chair scraped. Then my grandfather's voice, tired but clear. "Get out of my study." Another file held scans of bank statements I had never seen. There was a brokerage account worth just over $420,000. Another file showed handwritten notes about caregiver reimbursements that did not match the amounts being withdrawn. Another was a draft letter addressed to the estate attorney, marked "If anything changes suddenly, review the backup." Buried beneath those files was the strangest thing of all. A photo of the old brass mantel clock on the bookshelf with a note in Grandpa's handwriting. "Recorder inside. Sinks when laptop is open." I sat down so hard the desk chair squeaked under me. My grandfather had hidden a voice recorder inside the clock. He knew. He knew they were pressuring him. He knew someone might try to rewrite the story after he was gone. And somehow, through that dusty old laptop and a forgotten cloud sync setting, the truth had waited there for Lucy to find it. I called an attorney the next morning. Not the estate attorney. A probate litigator named Daniel Mercer, recommended by a teacher at my school whose aunt had gone through inheritance fraud. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he asked me to send copies of every file. By evening, he called back and said the words that made my entire body go numb. Claire, if these are authentic, your mother and sister may have concealed assets and attempted to influence the estate. Do not confront them yet. Do not confront them yet. That became my anchor. Daniel contacted the estate attorney directly. Within 48 hours, they had verified the account existed, confirmed there was a sealed codicil in Grandpa Walter's safe deposit box, and placed an immediate hold on certain disbursements Vanessa had been pushing to finalize. Apparently she had already submitted reimbursement summaries and property expense claims that looked very polished and very false. And still, I went to Thanksgiving. Not because I wanted turkey. Not because I wanted one more chance at family. I went because Lucy deserved to see me stand up without screaming. Because the truth needed a witness. Because Daniel said the formal reading would go forward in front of everyone, exactly as Grandpa had requested in a notarized instruction none of them knew about. By noon, my mother's house already smelled like cinnamon, onions, and hostility. Vanessa was there in cream cashmere, holding court in the kitchen as if she owned the air. Her husband Trent laughed at all the right moments. My Aunt Rochelle kept glancing between us the way people do when they sense thunder but still set the table. Lucy stayed close to me, holding the sleeve of my cardigan. The comments began early. Vanessa looked at Lucy's second-hand velvet dress and smiled without warmth. That is adorable. Vintage again, Claire? My mother added, children notice when they are raised with less. I just hope Lucy does not grow up resenting you. I swallowed hard and poured apple cider into paper cups. Then my mother slid a folder toward me on the kitchen island. Before dinner, she said, sign this acknowledgement. It is only housekeeping. I opened it. Dense language. Distribution waiver. Personal property release. A line that would have limited my ability to dispute certain transfers already made from the estate. My mouth went dry. I am not signing anything today, I said quietly. Vanessa gave a theatrical sigh. There she goes. Difficult, as always. My mother leaned closer. I could smell her perfume, that powdery rose scent that used to mean church and now meant danger. Do not embarrass me. I looked at her and thought about every year I had spent trying not to embarrass her. Every achievement she had minimized. Every wound she had called drama. Every time Lucy and I had driven home from one of these gatherings in silence because I had no clean way to explain why Grandma loved us like a performance and not like a promise. Dinner started at 4. The silverware clinked. The crystal glasses caught the amber light from the windows. Lucy whispered that the mashed potatoes smelled like Grandpa's holiday dinners and I almost broke right there. Vanessa made sure the conversation kept circling money. The farmhouse value. The tax burden. The complications of managing assets. Then, with half the table listening, she said, some people confuse caregiving with entitlement. I set down my fork. Aunt Rochelle stared at her plate. Trent cleared his throat and took a long drink. Lucy looked between our faces, no longer pretending not to understand. I said, showing up for someone is not entitlement. Vanessa smiled. No, but expecting a reward for it is. My mother nodded once. Exactly. The room was tightening. I could feel it, like a string wound too far around a finger. Then Lucy, in the soft trusting way only a child can, said, Great-Grandpa Walter said Mommy was the only one who helped him with the medicine box. No one moved. Vanessa's smile flickered. My mother turned to Lucy with that brittle sweet voice adults use when they are angry but still afraid of witnesses. Sweetheart, grown-up matters are complicated. Lucy lowered her eyes. I saw her little mouth tremble. Something hot rose in my chest. I should have left then. Maybe a healthier version of me would have. But I had spent years living quietly while they controlled the ending. That day I stayed. Vanessa dabbed at her lips with her napkin and said, to be honest, Claire, I think you have filled Lucy's head with a lot of nonsense. Grandpa indulged you because he felt sorry for you after Evan. That is not the same as being owed anything. There it was. My widowhood. Used like a stain. I told Lucy to finish her roll while I got some air. I walked into the hallway. My mother followed. Of course she did. She cornered me between the coat rack and the antique mirror. Her eyes were bright and mean. "If you ruin tonight," she whispered, "do not come crying when you end up with nothing." I said, "I already know about the account." Her face changed, only for a second, but I saw it. That tiny slip, that tiny crack. Then Vanessa appeared behind her, and in a low voice meant to wound, she said, "This family's money doesn't belong to you." I looked from one to the other, and I said the first brave thing I had said to them in years. "It belonged to Grandpa, not to either of you." That was when my mother slapped me. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're watching from, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. You won't want to miss how this ends." The sound rang down the hallway and into the dining room. Lucy cried out for me. My aunt stood up so fast her chair tipped backward. Trent muttered, "Diane, what are you doing?" But even then he sounded more nervous than outraged. Vanessa just stared, as if she could not decide whether this had gone too far or exactly far enough. I bent down, picked up Lucy, and held her against my chest. Her little body was shaking. My mother pointed toward the front door. "Get out, both of you. I will not be threatened in my own home." Then the doorbell rang. Once. Clear and sharp. Nobody moved. It rang again. Vanessa walked to the door first, perhaps thinking she could control whoever stood behind it the same way she had controlled every room all her life. But when she opened it, her face drained of color. Daniel Mercer stepped inside in a dark overcoat, carrying a leather briefcase. Behind him was Mr. Halpern, the estate attorney, a thin older man with silver hair and the kind of expression people wear when they are done being lied to. "Good evening," Mr. Halpern said. "I believe everyone is here." No one invited them in. They simply entered, and for the first time all day, my mother looked uncertain. Daniel glanced at my cheek, then at Lucy in my arms, and his jaw tightened for half a second. He said nothing. He did not need to. Mr. Halpern placed a folder on the dining room table and spoke with formal calm. By instruction of the late Walter Green, certain final provisions of his estate are to be read in the presence of all immediate family members. Due to newly verified evidence, this reading includes a valid codicil and supplemental statement. Vanessa found her voice first. "This is absurd. We were told the will was already handled." Mr. Halpern looked at her over his glasses. "Not correctly. You could feel the oxygen change in that room." My mother sat down heavily. Aunt Rochelle crossed herself under the table. Trent stepped back like he no longer wanted any part of the same carpet. Mr. Halpern opened the document. His voice was steady. He read that the primary farmhouse contents would be divided by itemized instruction. He read that certain charitable gifts had been assigned. Then he paused and turned a page. "The brokerage account ending in 7714, currently valued at $420,000, is to be distributed as follows. 60% to my granddaughter Claire Bennett, and 40% to be placed in trust for my great-granddaughter Lucy Bennett, to be administered by Claire Bennett." No one breathed. Vanessa made a small sound. Not quite a gasp. More like a choke. Mr. Halpern continued, "This decision reflects the sustained care, loyalty, and companionship Claire provided in my final years, and my express wish that Lucy's future education and security be protected." I closed my eyes for 1 second, just one, because my niece nearly gave out. Then he read the next paragraph. "If any beneficiary, representative, or family member has concealed assets, exerted improper pressure, forged records, or attempted to redirect funds contrary to my written instruction, that individual's share shall be suspended pending investigation, and any recoverable portion may be reassigned to Claire Bennett and Lucy Bennett." Vanessa stood up so quickly her wineglass tipped and spilled across the tablecloth like blood. "This is a setup," she said. She manipulated him. Everyone knows she was always there poisoning his mind. My mother slapped her hand on the table. Walter was confused near the end. Mr. Halpern closed the folder. Then Daniel opened the laptop. Old, silver, silent, my grandfather's spy computer. Lucy recognized it instantly and whispered against my shoulder, "Mommy, that is the one." Daniel said, "These files were recovered from Mr. Green's cloud backup and authenticated this week." He clicked play. The room filled with my mother's voice. "Just sign the transfer, Dad." Claire does not need to know every detail. Then Vanessa. This money would be wasted on her. Like mother, like daughter. Weak women always think tears are work. My stomach turned. My aunt covered her mouth. On the recording, Grandpa Walter's chair creaked. Then his voice came, fragile but furious. Leave my study. Now. Another file played. Vanessa again. Come this time. Clinical. If Claire questions anything, we say the account was depleted by care expenses. She will believe it. She always wants peace more than truth. I felt something inside me crack and then settle into place forever. Because she was right about who I had been. Not about who I was becoming. The final recording was the worst. My mother said, clear as church bells, you were never really one of us once Evan died. Now you are just a problem with a child. Lucy pulled back and looked at me, confused and hurt. I kissed her hair. The room went completely silent. That phrase, which had probably been whispered behind my back for years, now lay in the center of the dining room for everyone to stare at. Vanessa looked at Trent. Trent would not look back. My mother tried one last defense. That is taken out of context. Mr. Halpern replied, the context includes false reimbursement claims, attempted property transfers, and a forged signature on an estate disbursement worksheet. Vanessa's head snapped toward him. Forged? Daniel slid copies onto the table. The notary stamp traces back to a former co-worker of yours at Blue Ridge Trust. We have already notified counsel. I watched the color leave her face in waves. In the days that followed, the consequences came fast and very specifically. Blue Ridge Trust placed Vanessa on immediate administrative leave. Within 2 weeks, she was terminated for ethics violations after an internal review found she had accessed client templates and reused formatting from restricted estate documents. The story spread through every board luncheon and charity gala she had spent years clawing her way into. Her perfect image cracked in public. Trent moved out before Christmas. Apparently, while planning to cover legal fees and a lifestyle she could no longer afford, Vanessa had opened 2 lines of credit using information from their joint records without telling him. He filed for separation in January. My mother was removed as volunteer treasurer from her church preschool fund after people learned she was under probate investigation. Women who used to praise her cranberry bread stopped calling. She tried to host a holiday open house anyway. Barely anyone came. The estate court froze the suspicious transfers. The false care reimbursements were traced. The judge ordered restitution proceedings and referred the matter for further civil action. No handcuffs. No dramatic police lights. Just something much colder. Paperwork. Hearings. Audits. The kind of legal truth that does not shout, but does not stop either. And the farmhouse? Grandpa had protected that too. Because of the no contest clause and the verified misconduct, the court approved the sale under supervision and reassigned a larger recoverable portion than anyone expected. Enough for Lucy's trust to be funded properly. Enough for me to pay off the last of Evan's medical debt. Enough for a small white house with a fenced backyard and a reading nook under the stairs that Lucy immediately claimed as her secret castle. What hurt me most was not losing them. It was realizing how long they had been willing to lose me. A few weeks after the hearing, my mother called for the first time. Her voice sounded thinner, older. She said families make mistakes. She said she had been under stress. She said Lucy should not grow up without a grandmother. I listened, really listened. And when she finished, I said, you did not make a mistake. You made choices. Then I hung up. Vanessa sent one email after her separation became public. No apology. Just blame wrapped in soft language. She wrote that I had humiliated her and destroyed her marriage. I forwarded it to Daniel and archived it. That was my answer. Lucy still asks about Grandpa Walter sometimes. We keep his navy sweater folded in a memory box. We bake his apple pie every November. And on the hardest nights, when the house is quiet and grief sleeps in like cold air under a door, I remember what he said on the porch. Love is who shows up when nobody is watching. He showed up for me even after he was gone. The strangest part is this. I did not feel victorious when the will was read. I felt relief, deeply, shakily relief, like I had been carrying a stone inside my chest for years and someone finally lifted it out. The money mattered because it gave Lucy safety. But the truth mattered more. The truth gave me back my own face. Last spring, Lucy came home from school with a family tree assignment. She sat at the kitchen table, tapping her pencil against her lip, and asked, "Do I have to put in everyone?" I knew exactly what she meant. I told her, "You put in the people who love you honestly." She smiled and wrote Great-Grandpa Walter in very careful letters. That night, after she fell asleep, I stood in the hallway outside her room and listened to the soft rhythm of her breathing. No tension, no fear, no waiting for a grown-up mood to change the weather in the house. Just peace. That was the real inheritance. Not the 420,000, not the legal win, not the farmhouse proceeds. Peace, safety, dignity, and the knowledge that my daughter would grow up seeing her mother walk away from cruelty instead of decorating it and calling it family. Some betrayals do not break you. They reveal who was never standing beside you to begin with. And sometimes the quiet evidence people leave behind becomes the voice that saves you when your own has been dismissed for years. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And if this story moved you, subscribe. There are more stories waiting for you.